Today I have a long list of jobs I need to do in the garden, so I thought I'd set the camera up and talk through everything I got through. I have already spent the morning fertilising the garden beds with some liquid fertiliser. The next job I'm going to do is top up the chilli pots in the greenhouse with some of Vasili's potting mix, just so there's a little bit of nutrients now transferring into these chilies. You can see they're nice and green, so they're doing really well in their new location. Next up, we've got the vines from the sweet potatoes that I cut and have started to root. I'm going to put them in this pot. As you can see, it's got quite large drainage holes at the bottom, so I thought I'll just put a little bit of straw down there, then some of Vasili's planting mix, and give them a good water in. The other day I went to the entrance of our estate where there was a lot of fallen autumn leaves in piles next to the fence. So I thought I'd collect a big bag full of these and then mowed them down and put them in the compost. Because there was still quite a few left, I decided to grab another bag, because this is gardening compost gold and it comes but once a year. I also spotted that my first Romanesco is forming. Isn't she beautiful? All those spikes and that gorgeous lime green colour. Next to the sweet potato tips that I had in water, and I've transferred them now into some soil, and I'm just going to top these up as well with some of Vasili's planting mix, just to give them again some more nutrients as they grow and get bigger. You can also see the slips that have grown out of the sweet potatoes are now getting roots from this method that I am trying for the very first time. You can see the roots on all sides, which is incredibly exciting. And that orange sweet potato is still struggling with that tiny little slip. These, I'm wondering, are they the alpine strawberries or are they just weeds? And then these calendulas, let's get these potted up. I've put some of that autumn leaves at the bottom just so I don't have to put as much soil in. And I've got two varieties of calendula in here, Pink Surprise to the left and what looks to be Buff Sunset to the right. Apparently the orange calendulas have the most medicinal properties in them, so that Sunset Buff might be borderline, but it is a little bit of a variegated version, so I might just get my hands on an orange variety as well and give them a water in, and they look fantastic. Let's go back to my front yard, and this diosma was a huge hedge that took up this whole garden bed, and a couple of weeks ago I decided to chop it back by half just to open up this little area here, and I put in my very first lot of compost that I had created. You can see sort of all the balls of it there because I have a tumbler. So it's a beautiful medium, and I decided to put the last bag of garlics that I had. I've been doing a cold stratification of those garlic bulbs in the fridge, and I could not believe it that just a few days later they were already poking their heads out, which is ever so exciting. So they're right next to my onions in that planter. And they don't get a heap of sun here because that planter does cast some shadowing over it. However, they seem to be quite happy at this stage. And the variety I've planted here is Dagansky. I also noticed a beautiful plump asparagus that is yelling at me to pluck it and eat it. I thought it was a little early for the old asparagus, seeing we're still in winter and I still have those other fronds that are yet to die back. Then on my travels in the garden, I did notice that I had these bulbs in this spot. Now this no longer gets any sunshine, and I've noticed the last couple of years these gorgeous daffodils have not produced any flowers, and I'm assuming that's because they just don't have the energy from not getting any sunshine throughout the season. So instead of having them hidden in this little spot in the garden, why don't we transplant them into the veggie patch. This is a beautiful sunny position, so hopefully this will generate some flowers. I'm not going to say for this season, I think we've missed the opportunity, but hopefully next year we get some gorgeous daffodils in this location just to add a pop of colour, and I think they'll be a lot happier here. My next task is to go through these potatoes that I've purchased. I've got my chart from Aussie Gardener, and I'm just going to look up where potatoes are and when I can start planting them in our climate, and it's saying from August because we're that temperate. And this is a free potato bag that they threw in as well, which was really nice from Vasilis. These are from Bunnings. It's very hard to see through the bag, but there's actually quite a lot of sprouting going on. This is the Otway Red. So we're just going to have a look and see how far along they are going. And no, not a lot of sprouts here at all. Then the Pink Eye. Again, not a lot of sprouts going on here either. Moving on to the Sabako. Whoa, hey, here we go. Yep. Oh, yes. These are ready to go. How fantastic. So they've sprouted well. And then lucky last is the Dutch Cream. And there you go. They look like they're, oh, yeah, they've got some sprouts on them as well. Not as big as the Sabako, but definitely on their way. So what we're going to do is a technique called chitting. And to do that, we are going to put them in a light area and allow them to start sprouting. I've been collecting these egg cartons over the past few months because I had seen that people had put their potatoes in them. However, you're going to notice that my potatoes are huge. They don't fit in those little egg carton compartments. So luckily I'd kept one of the lids, which is perfect for those huge Otway Reds, but these Pink Eyes are struggling to balance in here, but we'll just work with what we've got. And here's them set up inside, so in a nice warm and light and bright area, and it should take 2 to 4 weeks, which being close to the end of July should bring us perfectly into mid-August. If you've watched my Love Your Weeds series, you'll know that plantain was one of the weeds that I featured. It was apparently fantastic for many skin irritations, bites and stings, and many other functions. So I thought, why not make my own? So I'm going to talk you through making the plantain salve. So here is my oil that has been sitting for the past 4 weeks, infusing with those dehydrated leaves. I'm now going to strain this oil through this muslin cloth, just so that we get some pure oil out of it. You want to squeeze it out really well so that you don't leave any oil behind. There it is, and this is just olive oil that it has been seeping in. I'm then going to pour out 100 grams of oil. However, I noticed that I'm struggling to even get to 50 grams. So a little bit of encouraging and scraping of the bowl, and I managed to get 50 grams. So we're just going to do half the recipe. You want to ensure that you use 100% beeswax also. So we need 15 grams of beeswax. So that's 7.5 for half the mixture. I've got 7.9 there, I'm sure we'll be fine. And then you just melt that into the oil, and that literally took 30 seconds. So this is super easy, and then you just pour it into your tins. They do say that be very careful when you are using the beeswax to use a pot which has a darker colour to it, just so that you don't get any staining that you're unable to get out. Now, I wish I had have taken a time lapse of this hot oil mixture solidifying, because it was just gorgeous to watch the transformation from this yellowy clear fluid turning into a gorgeous, creamy consistency. So I made a little bit of a mess, but here is the finished product, and it is just gorgeous. And just like that, the day comes to an end. Thanks for coming along. Night Garden.